This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I truly believe the next few minutes will be impactful for parents. And this actually applies to parents with kids of many different ages. And what we're going to look at today is when you should enable and when you should not. When you should jump in and help your kid deal with a situation or navigate through something they're working on, or just ease back and let them figure it out. Kind of a challenging situation to be in as a parent because, there's the tough love, but then there's also the thought of, well, no, I need to be there. I need to help them out. We're going to talk about that today with a psychotherapist who works with everybody of every age, whether it's kids, teens, parents, families, couples, all of that. She is wonderful. She's back with us, and she is Susie Engel on the program. How are you doing today?
Hi, Steve. I'm fine. How are you?
Real good, real good. And this is one of those things that, as a parent, I have teenagers.
Yes.
Kind of struggle with, whether I should jump in certain areas or just kind of lean back and let them figure it out. What's your overall starting thoughts on that?
Lean back and let them figure it out.
Okay.
That's my overall. I'm
All
like
right.
extra in that department. But you know what? I was thinking of our last podcast too, when we were just talking about relationships and, if my significant other, for example, was sulking all day, how do we handle that? And, we ended it by saying, oh, we would want to be adaptive and say, how do you want to, manage what you're going through rather than jumping in and are you okay? What can I do? Do you need anything?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting spin-off to think
Yeah.
about teenagers, and maybe it's just about relationships in general, but let's think about it. So if, I am of the probably close to almost being polarized of being like hands off and giving the opportunity, every opportunity to a teenager to make friendships, figure out friendships, even if parents don't approve of those friendships,
Mm-hmm.
but get through those friendships and either figure out how people in relationships and friendships like this change and adjust, or how my teenager or your teenager might figure out, what, this friend isn't that healthy for me, or this friend isn't what I thought this friend was going to be. And so I like the hands off and give the opportunity to a child or a teenager or an adult to have a sense of agency in these situations.
Let's go with a hypothetical situation. Let's say you have a teenage girl. She is 14.
Yeah.
Let's say she's got some challenges, doesn't have a lot of friends. And then let's say that there is one friend that she hangs out with, they talk on social, they get together. This friend is not a good influence.
Yes.
And maybe this friend has, let's go there, shared some vapes, whatever. And you're aware of it. It's on your radar. You're processing the information. Now, you could say, I don't want you hanging out with that friend. I don't have a good vibe with her, blah, 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 blah. On the flip side, your child doesn't have a lot of friends, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
What would you do?
I would not say, I don't want you to hang out with her or this friend, the friend with the vapes. I would not say that because, guess what? And you know, adults in these situations, you know, you have, I mean, not you personally, Steve, you. I just mean like the audience listening even has friends who may be in a marriage or a intimate relationship with like, oh, I don't think that that woman is good for you, or I don't think that that man is healthy for you. And the thing is, if we say
Mm.
that to a 14-year-old child who doesn't have a lot of friends, and says, and we say, I don't think that person is good for you. Guess what our 14-year-old is going to do?
Hang
Our
out with them.
14, yeah. So hang out with them, but not only that, ramp up like this automatic defense of all the things that are great about this person that may
Mhm.
not even exist, but it'll become idealized.
Yeah. Yeah. Defend them just to,
Defend
whether
them.
they're super into the friend or not, they gotta, your kid has a point to prove.
Yes.
They may, yeah.
And and that's also a good thing that kids do or anybody does, because if we say who you should be friends with and who you shouldn't without giving this person a chance to be their own individual self, a sense of agency, as I say, to make a decision and outgrow the friend or
Mm.
influence the friend so that the friend changes too. I'm not saying enabling or you're supposed to fix your friends. I'm not saying that, but just living. Oh, sorry. Oh, never had that happen again. Sorry, everybody. I forgot to
You know,
shut off
we
my.
didn't hear anything.
Oh, that's good.
Not a word.
Susan Engel is going insane and it's recorded.
Uh,
Um, but anyway, if we say don't be friends, I don't think you should be friends with this person, they become defensive and want to be all the more friends and find more people like that. And it's just not a good outcome.
yeah, I got clarity here because as an adult, if somebody said, "Yeah, I don't really, that person's really not good for you. You shouldn't be hanging out with them," whether they're right or wrong, whether I agree with them or not, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. You know,
Right.
it's my decision, and inside I might be saying, "Yeah, they're bad news," but you know, whatever. I hang out with them. What? And they probably are a few if I go deep right now and think, you know, there are some, you know, really
Definitely.
support, you know, we all could probably weed out a few, you know.
Absolutely. And we all could say, hey, point well taken. But it's up to us not to get not nobody likes to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And a teenager coming of age and finding themselves, especially, first of all, they find themselves through friends, good or bad, contrast or commonalities. And secondly, especially, I mean, I think people of after the age of 4 do not like being told what to do.
Okay, fair enough.
And so if we were to say, like, oh, you hung out with I don't know whatever name, Jane
Hmm.
or John,
Hmm.
Joe, you hung out with them. How was it? You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's it. That's the end of it.
Now, yeah, we'll put a
Yeah,
disclaimer in here that if it's very obvious that this person is bad news for your kid, that's going to be a different situation. You know, if there's some bullying, abuse,
yeah.
arrest record, you know, things really big stuff. That's we're putting that
So
over to
then,
the side.
so how are we? No, but even if we don't make a disclaimer, how are we going to handle that
Well, that's
without
a good point.
saying, I don't think this person is healthy for you.
What would
How
you do?
how can we turn the conversation and enable our child as a mature person who can begin expressing him or herself to be able to say, you know, how is it for you when you're with this person? And what do you think is going on? I'm a little concerned. What do you think is going on for you, my child? Feeling
Hmm.
the attraction to this person? What do you think it is about you that's going on around this? That's a
Hmm.
conversation. I'm not saying I don't think that this abusive, no good for nothing person isn't good for you, because that's not, it's going to backfire. It's
Hmm.
logical that it will backfire. But if we said, I wonder what's going on, it seems like there's something shaky about your self-worth, that you're like okay, that you're attracted to somebody who, you know, what's happening for you and your self-worth? That would be my
Would a
question to
teen
my
understand?
loved one.
Would a teen understand that? And I see where you're going with that, where it is now turned into a concerned conversation. You're not saying you're not hanging out with them anymore. All right. I learned more things about you. No, you're done. We're not going to do that. It's more of a conversation so your child or teen can process it.
Yeah.
But now we crossed a little bit of a bridge or peeled a layer where now we're talking about letting them process, you said things like self-worth. And are they going to get that? Are they going to understand that as a teen?
Oh, definitely. An
Hmm.
8-year-old will understand it.
Okay.
And if they don't, they'll start getting articulate about it. I mean, my point would be, if my child were in a scenario like that and the child said, we had a pretty good time, but he was like, and I'm being gender specific, sorry, everybody, but it's just easier.
Sure.
He was, this could be either gender anyway, like, I wanted to snoop through his phone because I didn't believe what he said he did last night. Then I would say to my child, so whether it's the boy being possessive or the girl feeling jealous and needing to snoop through his phone, it just doesn't matter whatever the scenario is. But I would say, what brought up the red flag for you?
Hmm.
And, are you listening to yourself, or are you ignoring yourself? Or how is it for you if he's saying, I don't like you going out with your friends? That would be my conversation. How is it for you? And what is it about your self-worth to have a boy this day and age say, I don't like it that you go out with your friends?
So now let's go into new
Yeah.
territory based on that. Let's say, and maybe it's the same. Let's say your teen is now wanting to date. Let's start there. Let's start there. At what age do you think it's okay for that to take place? And then I guess we need to define what date means. Having a boyfriend, having a girlfriend. Um,
Yeah.
I think that this is a classic concern of parents. What's an okay date to start?
Well, I
Or
mean,
okay
this is
age, I'm
funny.
sorry, to start dating.
Yeah, and this is funny because like little kids or older kids will come to the office and say, "Well, I started having boyfriends in like middle school, and middle school is now like age 10 to 12 or something, like middle school, like super young." It's like, "Oh, what do you do as girlfriend and boyfriend or whatever the relationship is? It doesn't matter, gender specific, sexual identity, that stuff is whatever it is for each individual." So, like, they'll say, well, we spend time together at lunch or we hold hands in the hallway, so that's fine. If they want to do that, that's fine. They're learning like friendships and relationships. But what are they going to do on a date? So if the kids are freshmen in high school and they want to date, I would have to, like, what is that? Like, what are they going to do? They don't have their license.
Hmm.
So what are they going to do? I had a client who was 15 years old, and her parents would go to pick up the boyfriend and let the boyfriend sleep over. Now, that is unbelievable to me. that is
Look
just,
at my eyes. I'm like, what?
yeah,
What?
that is just beyond, like, what are the parents
Well, okay. Let's
thinking?
yeah, completely. Um, that started with me saying, well, that's nice that they're going to pick up the boyfriend. All right, they got that relationship
Yeah,
where they're all connected.
yeah.
All right. I've been there, done that. Okay. The sleeping over thing.
Oh,
We didn't define where the boyfriend is physically sleeping. Now, it could be a situation where it's getting late. Yeah, Jimmy can stay, and then I'll let you finish the rest.
yeah. Well, first of all, he was allowed to sleep in my client's bedroom, so they were sleeping in the same bed. This girl has like the most tanked self-worth. And, I just don't understand these parents. And I worked with them as a whole
I'm
family.
twitching. I'm twitching right now, Susan. I'm like,
Right.
what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to like traumatize the audience either. But the thing is, the good thing was that the parents were really open to family therapy and they started understanding the layers of people's personalities and their own upbringings, and they became aware, and everybody kind of got together, excuse me, and you know were grounded and more level-headed and realized why their daughter was suicidal. I mean, it was just like they just got it, and they would never do that again with their younger daughter. And that was really phenomenal. But the thing is, you know, dating, we have to raise our children from the very beginning to trust themselves and have strong self-worth. And that starts from the very beginning. So when they start dating, we know that my son isn't going to be dating a girl to use her and to have sex and objectify her at age 14 or 15. I've raised a child who has enough self-respect to respect
Hmm.
his maybe girlfriend, and that's going to be the barometer. You
Yeah.
know, do the kids know themselves enough to not be used and to be good friends? And it's okay if they learn how to kiss and get
They're gonna do
intimate.
it anyway, so
They're
just
going to do it anyway, and it's age appropriate. But it's not okay to be used or feel like you're thrown away or that you're objectified. And all those things are also learning experiences.
that's the
And
delicate blend because you want your teen to learn, but at the same time, you want to, let's call it, protect. And I think most parents have a pretty good, if they're plugged in, have a pretty good feel. Like, let's say you have a teenage daughter, whatever, 15, and now she's interested in a boy, and they're spending a lot of time together, and let's say they're quote unquote dating. You watch what he does. Maybe he brings her flowers. Maybe he, supports her. That's her somebody that she can lean on. So I think you just need to take a look at the situation and read
yes,
it, right?
yes. And also, what are the activities they want to do? Like, are they just hanging around in their bedroom, secluding each other? Or are they playing miniature golf? Are they going to the beach for a swim? Are they going for a
Right,
snack? Are they going out with other friends
right,
in a
right.
group? Like, to me, there's adaptive activities that teenagers as boyfriend, girlfriend do. But when it lands at home in a bedroom and that's all they do, whether they're saying they're streaming a show or watching a movie, that is not adaptive to me. Like, if that's the only activity they do together, that is not social.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
like, I know it's very common too, but
very
it's
common.
totally not active. It's not finding new things to do. It's not going for a hike. It's not, and there are a lot of kids who do those things too.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with it occasionally, as long as there are other activities. But then that opens the door to other things where, okay, they're in your boyfriend is in your daughter's room. They're streaming. They're watching a show. They're watching whatever. Now you have other things. Where are they watching it?
Yeah.
Is the door closed?
Yeah.
There's more that. So maybe even we should
Well,
go there, because that's all part of the
yes.
enabling and not.
And have I raised my daughter to
Mm,
understand
mm.
that
What's
there
right and
are
what's not? Yeah.
healthy relationships and healthy friendships, and
Mm,
there are not? Does
yeah.
my daughter have that relationship IQ at this time? And I would hope so. I would hope that I raised my child that way, because I wouldn't want to be the parent saying, you can't close the door. You can come over and you can go in the bedroom, but you can't close the door. And you can sit in this chair, but you can't sit there. Like, I just would never manage all that. But would I raise a son to be respectful of himself and others? Would I raise my daughter to be respectful of herself and not need to please a boy to get a boyfriend?
Right.
That is my goal in life. Like,
And I
that
would
would,
imagine too, you got to meet his parents. You'll know. You'll feel it. How they act is how he probably acts, or that's where it started, and that's going to be, your first tip off as to whether this boyfriend is acceptable in your world.
yeah.
I think you're going
And
to know.
also our kids. So if we say, how was it last night? What'd you guys do? And our kid is like, it was really great. We had so much fun together. We were laughing about this or that, whatever. But if my kid comes, I remember my son actually came home and said, I'm thinking of breaking up with my girlfriend. And I said, oh, okay, what's going on? He said, well, it's just so uninteresting. And I'd rather be with friends, whether they're girlfriends or guy friends. I'd rather be with my friends where, like, we have 1,000 things to talk about. We always have ideas of things to do together, and I just can't be with somebody who is so
Wow.
disinteresting.
That's
And I said, well,
a
that's fine. But then, I'm also a chef, so I had a food business for 22 years. So my son met up with all of his friends who are girls and figured out, like, the nicest, most respectful way to break up with her, and did. But then the mom came to my store and said, why did my son break up with her? And I said, that's something you have to ask your daughter. I said, I can't answer that. That's between my son and your daughter. Like, you
hmm.
need to go home and ask your daughter, right? Like,
In a very positive way, inside of me, I'm chuckling a little bit with what your son said, where it's like, he's basically, this is not supporting me, this relationship. I'm not getting what I need out of it. She doesn't
yeah,
see things the way I do. And I get more value from hanging out with my friends.
yeah,
And this is what you want.
right, right. And he was 15 or 14. Well, he was probably 14, I think, or 15 years. He's probably 15, you know. And I was like, great. I didn't ask, like, what are you doing when you go out? I didn't interrogate, because that just sucks the joy out of things.
Hmm.
You know.
Fun
But
suck.
like I said, I'm a little extreme on my side of, like, hands off type stuff. But I raised my son like that.
Hmm. Well,
So
kudos to you in that.
he's his own person.
And I, you know what? My son is now 19. I feel that he is. Like, people ask me, "How's your son doing?" I pause and I say, "The dude is living the life. He's got he's got a girlfriend. He's got an SUV. He's got
Oh,
2 jobs. He's doing every day. There's a different activity throughout the summer. She goes to school about maybe 2 hours away from where he is, hour and a half or whatever. So, a couple of times a month they see each other. She'll stay, they get back and
okay.
forth, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and I wonder about the enabling thing. Like, I'm going to see him today, and I am taking he and his girlfriend, her brother, maybe some other friends to an amusement park that I got tickets for. And
Nice.
I don't have an SUV. Yeah, I have a junky one, but not one I want to drive there with. And I said, hey, you know what? Why don't we use yours? Because I can't really fit everybody comfortably in a car.
Perfect.
And then I'm thinking to myself, I got to throw him 20 for gas. I feel bad, But I was on the
Yeah.
fence, like,
Well,
shit.
he's 19.
He's
Yeah.
19, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You pay for gas.
I'm taking care of everything. So, but I'm thinking I'll pay for gas because we would have taken my vehicle anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's like,
No,
when
that's great.
they're self-sufficient, which is great.
But we're like I think that the conversation has gone to um what's logical about handling teens. And then also the other part that we have to consider is, did my teen grow up with a sense of self-worth
Mm,
and security?
yeah, and let them
And
think.
that's the difference between like who's my kid gonna choose to be close with.
We're out of time. I just looked at the
Yeah,
clock. Oh my gosh. If
happens every
y-
time,
I
Steve.
if you if you're challenged by your teen, wondering how to navigate that, this is the person to ask. You can find her at Susie Engel lcsw.com. Susie Engel is actually, I take that back. Susan Engel. Thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
just for the website. I tried to
exactly.
be grown up.
Engel. We'll never grow up, and that's a good thing. And
Yeah,
then the
no.
dash lcsw.com. Thank you for today. A lot of insight. I'm so glad that
Thanks,
we
Steve.
talked about this. Yeah.
It was
And
very rich.
very, very good. And we'll talk soon, okay?
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.